The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, welcome to this second day of the APM June 2021 exam prepare to pass session organized by ACCA Pakistan. This is Luqman Rafiq, your tutor for this paper APM. We have had a very good day yesterday in which we went through the different areas and the different areas that we went through in the yesterday's session that included that included the concept of the basic performance management. Then we talked about the performance management hierarchy. Under the performance management hierarchy, we did actually talk about the concept of vision. We talked about the concept of mission. Then we discussed about the concept of the critical success factors. After the discussion of the critical success factors, we moved a bit forward and we discussed about the additional concept that was the building balance scorecard. After the balance scorecard, we went on to discuss the building block model. And after the building block model, what we did was we went on to discuss about the area of this performance pyramid. And once we did discuss the performance pyramid, what we actually did was we went through the concept of, I repeat, once we discussed the performance pyramid, what we did was we went through the question which was named as zones company. The question's name was zones company. We went through that question. We discussed that question. And I actually did that question on the ACCA practice platform. So in case if any one of you has got any questions to ask, in case if you have got any queries to ask, do let me know, or else I'm going to move a bit forward. Yeah, any queries from yesterday? Any questions? Anything that you would want to ask? Yeah, any specific query, anything that you would wish to ask? Okay. Okay, Sharia, yes, are you part of the relevant WhatsApp groups? I've shared the link. Are you part of the relevant WhatsApp group? I've shared the link. Okay, good enough. Okay, you can message me on the relevant WhatsApp group, and I will just share the relevant links for you people so that you may benefit out of it. Yeah, you will get it, Richard. Just message me, you will get it. Okay, so good enough. We are good to go now. In our yesterday's session, we had a bit of a discussion about multiple things. We are now going to start off today. And the agenda for today's session is that we would have a quick overview of one or two of the topics. And then I'm going to start discussing about the practice questions again. So we are going to start off. And the next topic that I'm going to discuss today, the name of that topic is basically performance management report. Now, when we talk about the concept of performance management report, let's try to have an understanding that what exactly a performance management report is. Try to understand what exactly a performance management report is. Basically, what happens is you do understand that this is basically a chief executive officer of the organization. And under the chief executive officer, you've got the entire management. You've got the entire management of the organization, which may be the finance director, which may be the HR director. There could be the sales and marketing personnel. There could be the production director, etc., etc. So that there are people who are working under the chief executive officer. And at the same time, there is this chairman board of director. And under the chairman board of director, we have got the multiple people, which is director 1, director 2, director 3, director 4, and all four of them are considered to be the board of directors. And I repeat, all four of them are considered to be this board of directors. Now, basically what happens is that usually all of the decision making is here. Usually all of the decision making is here, and the board of directors are involved because there are a mixture of executive directors, there are a mixture of non-executive directors, etc., etc. But generally speaking, this is where the decision making is. Now, so what actually happens is that and at the same time, the board of directors also make a decision. So very important aspect of this performance management is that what are the decision makers getting to see? What are the decision makers getting to see? I repeat, a very important aspect is that to understand what are the decision makers getting to see. That actually means that when you report to the decision makers, so what exactly is there in the report decision maker? I repeat, when you are reporting to the decision maker, what exactly is there in the report to the decision maker? Because ultimately, whatever you are going to be reporting to the decision maker, he would be taking a decision on the basis of that report. So if this report is inappropriate, then ultimately there are going to be problems. I repeat, if the report is inappropriate, there are actually going to be problems. So what happens is that when we talk about this performance management, there is actually a very important concept. I repeat, when we talk about the performance management, there is actually a very important concept. And what is that important concept? Which is to understand what do we mean by a performance management report. So when we talk about a performance management report, the examiner has published 2 articles on this area of performance management report. You can go onto the ACCA website and you can download the relevant article. But I'm just going to give you a good idea, a brief idea of what examiner has discussed about these performance management report. So around 5 years back, examiner introduced an article, and in that article, examiner gave this framework, which is the PALE framework. What is this PALE framework? The concept of this PALE framework is that when we talk about the PALE, so the number 1 P is the purpose. The number 2 purpose is the number 2 is called the audience. The number 3 is termed as information, and the fourth one of them is considered to be layout. So I repeat, what the examiner has done is that he has actually discussed about this specific form, this framework, which is the PALE framework. That whenever you are talking about a performance management report, always consider that what exactly is the purpose for which this report is being seen. So the purpose of the organization is usually in the mission statement. You can have a profit-oriented organization, you can have a not-for-profit oriented organization. So the important concept is that what exactly is the mission, what exactly is the objective for which this specific organization exists. So I repeat, the important aspect is that you need to understand what exactly is the purpose, what exactly is the objective for which this specific organization exists. Now, so ultimately, your report should be reflecting those things which are captured in the mission. Your report should be reflecting those things because ultimately the decision makers have to take a decision on the purpose. If the decision makers have to take a decision on the purpose, so ultimately your report should cover the aspects, your report should cover the elements of the mission. Next, there's the second aspect, which is called the audience. Who is the user of your report? Who is the user of your report? So when we talk about the concept of audience, that who exactly is the user of the report. So when it comes to the user of the report is usually the board of directors. The user of the report is the high level management. So if the user of the board, user of this report is the high level management, so you need to understand that what type of information would they be able to understand, what type of information would they be needing. Would they be needing a detailed information? Would they be needing the minutest of information? What exactly is the type of information that they would be needing? The third thing is information. Your report, does it have the financial information? Does it have a non-financial information? What exactly are the different types of information that are covered up in this report? Does it have the ratios? Does it have the only figures? What exactly are they? And lastly, the layout. Layout is basically termed as the presentation of the report. That how exactly is the report going to be presented? Are you presenting it in the columnar format? Are you presenting the pie charts? Are you presenting the bar charts? What exactly are you presenting? So that is something that you have to do. That are you presenting this pie charts? Are you presenting the graphs? What exactly are you presenting? Now, so all that you have to do is that whenever you are evaluating a report, the performance management report, make sure that the report actually is covering all of these four aspects, which is the purpose, the objective for which the organization's management is going to look at the report. The second thing is that the audience, who exactly is the audience of this report. The third one of them is considered to be the information. Does the information going to be the financial information, or is it going to be the non-financial information? And lastly, the layout. That is, how exactly is this report going to be presented? I repeat, the layout, which is that how exactly is this report going to be presented. So all of these factors, all of these things are going to be considered when we are going to be talking about this specific report, performance management report. Now, what the examiner he does is that he gives you different types of questions. I repeat, what the examiner does is that he gives you different type of questions. And what are those different types of questions that the examiner gives? His questions requirement are usually like this, which is evaluate. I repeat, the examiner's question requirements are usually like this: evaluate. Evaluate what? Evaluate, he could actually ask you to evaluate the performance. He could actually ask you to evaluate the performance measures. He could actually ask you to evaluate the performance management system, and he could ask you to evaluate the performance report. So I repeat, there could be four different types of questions that the examiner can actually ask, which is he may ask you to evaluate the performance, he may ask you to evaluate the performance measures, he may ask you to evaluate the performance management system, and he may ask you to evaluate the performance report. Now, let's move a bit forward and let's discuss further. So when we talk about the concept of evaluating the performance, which is I would mark number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. So when we talk about evaluating the performance, so evaluating the performance, the examiner, what he is expecting from you is that you would actually be calculating the performance, and then you would be commenting on that performance. So when the examiner's requirement is that you need to evaluate the performance, so what exactly does he mean by this evaluation? He actually means to say that you have to calculate the performance. That's the first thing. Once you have calculated the performance, the next thing that you have to do is you have to comment on those performance, that whether the performance is good or whether the performance is bad, you would have to actually comment on that performance. Now let's move on to the second requirement, which is basically, I repeat, let's move on to the second requirement, which is evaluating the performance measures. I repeat, which is evaluating the performance measures. Now, when we talk about the concept of evaluating the performance measures, so when we talk about the concept of evaluating the performance measure, what exactly do you mean by this? Let's try to have a discussion. Let's try to have an understanding of this. Basically what happens is that when you talk about the evaluation of the performance measures, this would actually mean that the examiner would have given you different types of measures. I repeat, this would actually mean that the examiner would have given you different types of measures, and the examiner would want you to comment on these measures. I repeat, the examiner would have given you different types of measures, and he would actually want you to comment on these different types of measure. Now, what exactly do you mean by this? For example, the examiner would have said that we would wish to measure the performance of a hotel using the ROCE, and we are comparing hotel A with the hotel B. So if you are actually measuring the performance of a hotel using the return on capital employed, and if you are actually um, now, so for example, if you are comparing the performance of a hotel using return on capital employed, the examiner has given you that we would like to actually um, um, we would like to evaluate this performance measure. Now, if you would like to evaluate this performance measure, what exactly do you need to do? Try to understand. You would say that this hotel is actually owning his building, and this hotel has got the buildings on the rent. So ultimately what happens is that the capital outlay the capital outlay for both the hotels is different. So the capital outlay for both the hotels is different. Therefore, you cannot compare the performance on the basis of return on capital employed. I repeat, because now you cannot compare the performance on the basis of return on capital employed. Why? Because the reason being, I repeat, because the reason being, ultimately, if you have to compare the performance on the basis of return on capital employed, then both of them should have the similar characteristics. Both of them should have a similar characteristics. If the characteristics are not the same, you cannot compare. Yeah, do you get it? Okay, now let's move a bit forward and let's discuss further. Now, when we talk about the next aspect, I repeat, when we talk about the next aspect, this is basically, we have discussed the evaluation of the performance measure. The third one of them is performance measurement or the performance management system. So I repeat, the next one of them is performance measurement or the performance management system. Now, what exactly do you mean by this performance measurement, or what exactly do you mean by this performance management system? Try to understand this. Basically, what happens is that, for example, if you have got an organization where you would say that we would measure the performance using this share price, we would measure the performance using the EPS, we would measure the performance uh, using the warranty claims. For example, if the board of directors say that we would like to measure the performance using these. So what does it actually mean? I repeat, what does it actually mean? So when the board of directors would say that we measure the performance this manner, so this is actually going to be considered as their system. I repeat, this would also actually be considered as their system. Now, if this is actually going to be considered as their system, try to understand something. Now what actually happens is that the examiner may actually ask you that you have to compare. The examiner may actually ask you that you have to compare the existing system with, maybe he could say balance scorecard, maybe he could say building block model, maybe he could say performance pyramid, maybe he could say XYZ model. Now what exactly do you mean by this? This would actually mean what? I repeat, this would actually mean that he's asking you to compare, this with whatever system that is there, and then comment that to what extent it matches and to what extent it does not match. That to what extent it matches and to what extent it does not match. Okay, and lastly what happens is that the next one of them is basically termed as, I repeat, the next one of them is actually termed as the performance report. The next one of them is performance report. And when you are required to evaluate the performance report, so as I told you, all that you have to do is that, I repeat, all that you have to do is that you have to actually make sure, I repeat, all that you have to do is that you have to make sure that you apply this framework of PALE, which is the purpose, audience, information, and the layout. That is something that you would have to, consider. So I hope that that is something which is very much clear to you people. Yeah, I am hoping that this is something very much clear to you people. Let me go through few of the questions that I have been asked at that time when I was actually going through it. Uh, okay, evaluate is discuss, evaluate is comment. Yes, Pawan Kumar, that hasn't changed. Madeline, what is it that you don't understand? Please let me know. Yeah, Madeline, what is it that you don't understand? Okay, performance management system. Okay, let me tell you. Now, when it comes to performance management system, what does it actually mean? The performance management system would actually mean that the examiner would tell you that how exactly are they measuring or managing the performance. And once they would tell you that how exactly are they measuring or managing the performance, the next thing that is actually going to happen is that you would have to compare the existing system with, I repeat, you would have to compare the existing system with what? With the balance scorecard or the building block model or whatever that the examiner would tell you. So you would have to say that balance scorecard measures the performance using the 4 dimensions, and this company is not measuring the performance using 4 dimensions. So that is something that you can actually do. I bet that is something that you can actually do. So when it comes to this performance management system, this is that how exactly does this organization measure the performance, and and how it should be done using the specific model. Do you get it now? Okay, good enough. So we have gone through it and we have discussed this. Now let's move a bit forward and let's discuss further. Yeah, the examiner would always tell you what to do. Yeah, performance measurement system and management system is the same. Okay, what is it? When it comes to performance measure, the examiner would actually ask you, I repeat, the examiner would actually ask you that what do you need to do? You need to actually um, you need to comment upon. What do you need to do? You need to actually comment upon that. You need to comment upon that whether this performance measure is appropriate or not. I repeat, you would have to comment upon whether this performance measure is appropriate or not. Kindly let me know if all of you are okay so that I can now move forward to the examination question. Let me know if you all are okay so that I can now move on to the examination question. Okay, now good enough. So I have now got a response from you people. Now let's move on to the exam practice question. So with respect to the exam practice question, I will open up the CBE platform just like I did in the yesterday's session. And what I would actually be doing is that again, I just need to see that what are the questions that have been assigned to me. This is APM past examination content. So I myself, I would have to actually assign myself one of the papers. Okay, I just need to check because the question that I want to do is actually March 2020. I repeat, the paper that I want to do is actually March 2020 and I am unable to find that on the CBE platform. So I'll just try to see if I'm able to find, or else what I'll do is that I would do that question manually, although that was not my priority to do it manually. But unfortunately, if this is not the case, then I would have to do it that way. Just let me check if I've got the same question over here. No, I have not got the same question here. Okay, just wait a bit, please. Um, Maybe what we could do is that we could start off with a question from December 2018. I repeat, we could start off with a question from December 2018. There is this because the objective is I want to do those questions which are there on the CB platform so that you people do know that how exactly am I doing them. So that you people do know that how exactly am I doing them. Okay, so there is this APM December 2018, and in December 2018, we have got this specific question, question number 1, the name of which is Resolos Engineering. I repeat, we have got question number 1, and the name of that question is Resolos Engineering. Now, what am I going to do with respect to answering the question? I am going to adopt the same approach which I actually adopted in the yesterday's session. So let's actually start discussing about it. Let's try to see what the examiner is asking us to do and how exactly do we need to handle all of this. So basically, Pawan Kumar, I've shared this a question paper to you. Yes, you can share, you can access it from your login ID and password on the ACCA website, Mr. Himanshu. Okay, I've shared this handout in the relevant WhatsApp group also. Let's try to understand The question says the following exhibits available on the left hand side of the screen. What does the question say? The following the following the following exhibits available on the left hand side of the screen provide information relevant to the question. So we are being provided with the company information, the background and overall objectives for Resillos Engineering. Then there is this performance reporting system, details of the chief executive officer's request for an evaluation of the current performance reporting system. So what has he done? He has actually asked you to evaluate the current performance reporting system. The third thing is that it says the customer survey. What is this customer survey all about? It says information about criticisms level at the board of the Resillos after results of a customer survey conducted by the company were announced. So there are three aspects. One of them is the company information. The other one of them is the performance reporting system. Third is a customer survey. Then you've got the benchmarking proposal. Okay, so we are going to have benchmarking here in this question also, which I'm going to do a bit later. An explanation of the work to be prepared on benchmarking exercise for the three division. Appendix 1 is about current performance report. Appendix 2 is about the press release. Appendix 3 is about the data for benchmarking exercise. And you're being provided the response options. And what you could do is that you could see that the response options have got word processor. The response option has got a spreadsheet. That means the examiner wants you to answer on both of them. If the examiner gives you only one, I repeat, if the examiner only gives you one, like if he gives you word processor only, that means you have to answer the whole question on the word processor only. But if the examiner gives you both of these things, so this would actually mean that you have to answer on both of them. Now you got to split it some way or the other. Now, how exactly do we proceed with respect to this question? Try to understand. When we talk about this specific question, you need to understand that um, let's talk about the company information, that what are the company information available. I told you people yesterday also, you could actually zoom it, you could adjust the size, everything. It says Resillos is a listed company manufacturing pumps and valves. So what is Resillos doing? Resillos is a listed company manufacturing pumps and valves for use in the chemical industries. These highly engineered components must be integrated into Resillos customers' own plant and equipment. So what happens is that this is your work. You manufacture what? Pumps and valves. And these pumps and valves are to be integrated into the customer's plant and equipment. Company has grown significantly via acquisition in the last 20 years to become a worldwide business. So what is it? It's actually a worldwide business. Now, it says the overall objective of the company is to deliver sustainable growth and value to the shareholders by working in partnership with the customers to deliver innovative and value for money solutions utilizing the skills of highly trained workforce. Now, it's a very important aspect with respect to its mission. Why? It says that the objective of the company is to deliver sustainable growth in the value to the shareholders by working in partnership with customers to deliver innovative and value for money solutions. Now, what am I going to do? I'm going to copy these things onto, I repeat, I'm going to copy these things onto the word processing document. Okay, am I not audible? Am I not audible? Okay, Dixon. Okay, now see. So basically what happens is that it says the overall objective of the company is to deliver sustainable growth and value to the shareholders by working in partnership with customers to deliver innovative and value for money solutions. Now, the chief executive has recognized that the company has been so focused on making acquisition that it has not improved other aspects of management. The company has not improved other aspects of management. So the only thing that they do very good is the acquisition. I repeat, the only thing that they do very well is the acquisition. Now try to understand. He has asked you to produce a report for the board of Reselos to cover a number of areas. So we need to prepare a report for the board of Reselos to cover a multiple areas. Now, what does this performance reporting system slide tells us? It says the CEO would like an evaluation of the performance reporting system used at the strategic board level by Reselos. The current performance report used for the annual review is given as an example. Now, a very important point. This is what you have to do. Let me tell you that a lot of times you are unable to ascertain from the question's requirement that what exactly is the examiner asking us to do. I repeat, a lot of times what happens is that you are unable to understand from the question's requirement that what exactly is the examiner asking us to do. So he usually discusses those things in the question. I repeat, he usually discusses those things in the question. That's what he does. Now, let's move. So, I've read through 1 and 2. I'm not reading through 3, 4. I'm just going through Appendix 1. I repeat, I'm just going through Appendix 1 and I just need to see what exactly has he provided to me. So, with respect to the Appendix 1, what has he given to you people? He has actually given to you people. Okay, I will keep the requirement. I will just amend what I've written on the word processing. You just follow me the way I do the question. I repeat, you follow me the way I do the question, please. Now, okay. So with respect to Reselos, this is what you have got. You have got year to 30th September 2000, whatever, 8, 8, and 7. This is B land, this is T land, this is V land, and this is total. The growth is there. The profit as a percentage of revenue, company, industry average. So you've got revenue from 738, 2030, 923, etc. Cost of sale, GP. The other operating costs, including selling and distribution costs, administration costs. Then again, this is what? This is something which is we know that these are actually the company's profit and this is industry's average. Operating profit is given, finance cost is given, ROC is given. Administration costs contain an allocation of a product development cost to each division. I repeat, this is something that is included in the administration cost. Something given in the administration cost. Now try to understand that. What exactly is the requirement to the question? It says write a report to the Chief Executive Officer of Reselos. What do you have to do? You have to write a report to the Chief Executive Officer of the Reselos. And what is that report should go on the following areas? The performance reporting system. Now you see, can you actually answer the question by reading this? I repeat, can you actually answer the question by reading this? You cannot, right? So that's why I told you people That's why I told you people that when you have to actually answer, you got to usually read the examiner's question very carefully. This is basically the part A of the report, and I know that what is the examiner asking me to do. He's asking me to evaluate the performance reporting system used at the strategic board level by Rezilos. That is what he wants me to do. That means that this is where the examiner has clearly explained what he wants. Now, I will just go on to the report and I would try to see what is actually happening with the report. And if you could remember, we did discuss that the first one of them is a purpose. The second one of them is called the audience. The third one of them is called the information. And the fourth one of them is called the layout. Now, so the purpose, audience, information, layout. Now, when I'm going to be covering this specific report, I'm going to say, okay, what is the purpose of the organization? The purpose of the organization is to deliver the sustainable growth in value to the shareholders by working in partnership with customers to deliver innovative and value for money solutions utilizing the skills of the highly trained workforce. Now, the way I am going to write down the answer, let me guide you people. The way I'm going to write down the answer, the first thing that I've done is I've actually written the objective to deliver sustainable growth in value to shareholders. That is one thing. By working in partnership with customers to deliver innovative and value for money solutions, utilizing the skills of highly trained workforce. Now, the first thing is that you would say the mission, I'm just writing down in the bullet pointers as I did yesterday. I'm not going to be writing down the complete answers. The reason being, if I write down the paragraphs, you won't be able to understand. If I write down the paragraphs, you won't be able to understand. So for you to be able to understand well, I think the best way and the best approach is that what you should do is that you should actually, I repeat, you should actually let me write down in terms of pointers, and then you can make a solution out of it. And it's a very important thing that you understand how exactly am I drafting the answer. Okay, now I repeat, it's very important that you understand that how exactly am I actually writing down the answer. Okay, Ojok Richard, I have actually already taught. I'm sorry, Julio, I am unable to understand what you are trying to say. Julio, I'm sorry, I'm not able to understand what you're trying to say, that the question is not type 3 question and not 4. I'm not able to understand. Can you please elaborate what are you trying to say? Uh, okay, okay, thank you. Now, let's try to understand. Okay, I got it. Now, see, Basically, what have I done? Where have I started off? The answer, you people try to follow me the way I'm actually structuring the answer. The first thing is, it says that your objective is to deliver sustainable growth in value to the shareholders by working in partnership with customers to deliver innovative and value for money solutions, utilizing the skills of the highly trained workforce. So what I would do is that the mission of the organization can be splitted into the following. So I would actually write down the answer like this: in order to evaluate the performance report, an evaluation of whether the report covers the purpose, which is the mission of the organization. The second thing is that, comma, does it actually, so one of them is, does it cover the mission of the organization? That's one thing. The second thing is that, uh, does it actually present the information keeping in mind the audience that will be using it, and the type of information that is presented, and the way it is presented. So this is all something that you would have to do. So you see, once you write down, you actually drive the answer like this. Okay, now, so what we could do is that we could say that, see, mission of the organization can be splitted into uh, all these. Okay, so that is something that you would have to say. Now, I'm actually deleting this area also because I've actually written down the answers element like this. Now, the mission of the organization can be splitted into deliver sustainable growth and value to shareholders by working in partnership with customers, etc., etc. From the evaluation of the report, it is only reflecting the profits earned and the return on capital employed earned, but is not focusing upon the value created for the shareholders. This could have been better reflected by discussing about by discussing about by discussing about the share price, discussing about the EVA comparison um, with the industry of share price and EVA, etc., etc. That is something that you could have done. So this does not seem to be reflected here. Furthermore, there is no measure to reflect if the entity has worked with the customers. There is no measure to reflect if the entity has worked with the customers. Therefore, the objective of working in partnership is also not covered. The mission discusses about innovation, and the same is also not reflected in the report. This could have been reflected by mentioning new products launched, by mentioning the improvements to the existing products, etc., etc. So that is also something that is not mentioned. So I repeat, when you talk about it, that is something that is not mentioned at all. Now, furthermore, what we could do is that we could say that, I repeat, furthermore, we could do is that we could say that the utilization of the workforce and their training is also not reflected anywhere in the report. The value for money which entity projected to deliver to customers would mean that product is lower priced for the would mean that the product is lower price for the customers as compared to the price prevalent in the industry. This can be partially measured using the GP margin. Again, you don't have to comment on the performance. You have to comment on the performance report. I repeat, you don't have to comment on the performance. You have to comment on the performance report. So if you are going to be commenting on the performance report, you got to say that whether this performance report actually meets the relevant criteria of purpose, audience, information, layout. And you see the way I have connected it. I picked up the line, I picked up the important portion from the question which actually talked about. I repeat, I picked up the relevant portion from the question which talked about the mission content, and I've actually put it across and I've discussed it, I've covered it up. Now, now let's talk about the further aspect. You've got revenue, cost of sales, selling distribution cost, admin cost, total operating profit, finance cost, etc., etc. Now, the further aspect of this is that if I talk about the other aspects of this report, so you would say considering that the report is addressed to the strategic level management, it is quite concise, as the information is not presented in excessive details, and but rather the information is presented in such a manner that performance could be evaluated. The information presented only includes financial information, and that too does not include the information pertaining to the assets, liabilities of the business. No information provided about cash flows also. Further, non-financial information is not reflected at all. The existing presentation of the report has a good layout, clearly understandable. The precision levels are to million. The numbers mentioned are easily readable. The numbers mentioned are easily readable. Could have been better if comparison of growth would have been made division wise. So what I'm actually going to do is that I'm going to be talking about all of these things when I'll be answering down the question, because this all information was relevant, and I've actually used all of this information to write down my answer. And you could see that how I used the information from the question, I copied it, I pasted it, I discussed it, and then I deleted the irrelevant information. Okay, there is actually a question that I'm being asked. I will actually answer that question first before I move on to the same question. The students are asking that this questions ask us evaluate. So what is it that we need to do with respect to evaluate? So when you have to talk about the evaluate generally mean discuss. And when you discuss good and you respect bad. You discuss the advantages, you discuss disadvantages. You discuss the pros, you discuss the cons. That's what it is. So whenever you are discussing, these are the two aspects that you need to cover up when it comes to discussion. Yeah, are you okay with it? If you are okay with it, I'm going to go back to the answer. Okay, I'll scroll down on the answer. You could see now. Well, it's actually evaluation of the performance report. That's what it is. Yeah, please confirm to me. Yeah, it's okay to write advantages. It's okay to write disadvantages. That is something that you can do. Okay, now let's move a bit forward and let's discuss about the next aspect. Now, the next aspect of this question is that it actually says that the criticisms made about the customer survey. What is it? It says the criticism made about the customer survey. So I'm going to write it down like this. The criticisms made about the customer survey. The criticisms made about customer survey. Now, what exactly is this customer survey criticism all about? Try to see this. It says that at the most recent round of meetings with the stock market analyst, I repeat, at the most recent round of meeting with the stock market analyst, the board has been criticized. The board has been criticized. The board has been criticized about a customer survey whose results were announced at these meetings. The criticism centered on the method of collection, sampling, and the disclosure. The criticism centered on the method of calculation, sampling, and the disclosure in the press release. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to copy it again. I'm going to paste it here. Why? Because I know that this is an area which is actually to be covered up. I know this is an area that is actually going to be covered up. Now see, what next is there? The board of Resilos is concerned by the impact of this on their reputation in the market and would like an assessment of the analyst's criticism. The board of Resilos is concerned by the impact of this on their reputation and would like to have an assessment of the analyst's criticism. I'm copying down these relevant things because this is actually guiding me what to do. Now, it says the press release and some other internal details about the method and results of customer survey are given in Appendix 2. Now, what is mentioned in Appendix 2? Try to see. Okay, let's talk about this Appendix 2. It says press release from Resilos, customer survey results. Resilos has performed an extensive survey of its customer base and is proud to announce an average customer rating of 7 out of 10. This bears positive comparison with a leading competitor who performed a survey last year. Your competitor performed a survey last year scoring an average rating of 6. The survey asked for a customer rating on a scale of 0 to 10, where 10 was exceptional, 5 was good, and 0 was unacceptable. Now, if I could just tell you, if you are moving from a scale of 5 of 0 till 10, and the 5 is acceptable, if you are scoring 7, that means you're close to 5. You're not close to 10. You don't have to be happy. Why are you happy? I repeat, you don't have to be happy with it. You are close to 5, you're not close to 10. Mr. Dixon, I'm showing you where am I reading from. I'm sorry if you are having issues, but I'm actually showing you where am I reading from. Now see, end of press release. Then it says, extract from Resilos internal document. Thank you, Mr. Olumidi. Yeah, 5 is good. Now see, extract from Resilos internal document on calculation of customer rating. The survey was carried out by the staff at head office who sampled customers from all 3 divisions. So it wasn't one division. It was all 3 divisions that were covered up. I repeat, it wasn't one division. It was all 3 divisions which were covered up. So you covered up all 3 divisions, right? Now it says raw data. Customer number 1. Customer number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You have surveyed 9 customers. One of them has rated 10. 2 of them has rated 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Few of them have rated 6. Account size is this. Says this. Now see, a customer account size would actually mean the sales from the customer. You have got 1, 2, 3, 4 customers from B land. You have got 1 customer from T land. You have got another 2 from B land, then V land. Now a very good A lot of you would be wondering that is it an audit question? Is it an audit sampling question or is it a performance management question? Yeah, the sample is not representative of entire population. John Mupa, excellent. Thank you for this. Now see, other notes. The company has 180 customers in total, okay, and you have surveyed 9. The customer number is an identification number for administrative purposes. Okay, so you picked up the top 9. Each division has its own marketing and customer support function, although product development is a head office function. Now see, I am just going back to Appendix 1 because I just want to see if I've got these 3 divisions. My biggest division is T land, then V land, then B land in terms of revenue. You see, in terms of revenue, you have got the highest division, which is T land. You have got then V land, then B land. What is the examiner asking us to do? Again, go back. What is the examiner's requirement? I've copied it here. The criticisms centered on the method of calculation. So what is it? The method of calculation is wrong. The method of sampling is wrong. And the disclosures in the press release. The Board of Resilience is concerned by the impact of this on their reputation and would like an assessment of the analyst criticisms. Okay. So what is the board wanting us to do? The board actually wants us to look at this criticism and would want us to comment. I repeat, the board wants us to, the board is basically looking, I mean, like, it's actually the board wants to have a evaluation of the criticism. I'm going back again. See, look at their customer base survey results. Look at their results. If you look at their results, okay, if you look at their results, sorry, the performance survey report, they say we have performed an extensive survey of customer base and is proud to announce an average customer base of this, their positive comparison with this. Now see, I will talk about each one of them. It says the criticism centered on the method of calculation, the sampling and the disclosure. Let's talk about calculation. My general comment on calculation is going to be, what have they done? They've actually calculated these ratings. Can you just do the average of all these? Can you people do the average of all these? Can you just confirm to me what is the average of all these? Okay, all that they have done is, let me repeat. When it comes to the calculation of a score is based on a simple average. A better approach is to give additional weight to the customers with higher revenues. in order to calculate average. A weighted average with customer account value being the weight would have been a better approach. Now, is there a standard answer to this question? The answer is no, no, and no. So what am I doing? I'm just applying my mind. I'm just applying whatever I studied from the paper F1 till the paper APM till now. Alternatively, mean could have been used. Now, I've got these comments on the calculations. When it comes to the sampling, the sample size is too small. The sample is not randomly drawn, but instead sequentially drawn. The sample is not randomly drawn. It's rather drawn sequentially. Now, the which one was that which had a highest revenue? We were talking about this. Okay. T-Land has the highest revenue and has lowest presentation, lowest representation in the sample drawn. Also, B-Land is smallest and has highest representation. There are further issues with respect to the sample that has been drawn. Very, very small account sizes are also considered. Overall, the sample is not the representative of entire population and is biased. With respect to the press release, the score of 7 is correct based on their calculation. However, it does not address how they have arrived at this score. Comparison is not made with current year performance of competitor, but rather the last year performance is considered. Now, let me explain to you people. Let me explain to you people. This is what my viewpoint is. Now, I would actually delete all this which I copied from the question because this is the area. Now, in case if any one of you can actually suggest additional comments, additional points, you may contribute. Yeah, thank you, Rebecca, for your, thank you, Rebecca. Now, Yeah, let me know if you can actually suggest additional one, please. Let me know if you could suggest additional things. Yeah, anyone could suggest any additional points, please? Or are you all okay with this? Okay, the survey will choose customers. Okay, yes. Press release cannot comment on competitors' result. Okay, now that is something. No, not. I mean, like you might think of it to be unethical, but again, it can. Why it cannot? It depends upon which industry, which country you are from. Because it is allowed in some countries, it is not allowed in some. Okay. So there is an additional point of subjectivity. Now, the customer score includes subjectivity. Okay. What else? Uh okay, well, the point is it's a press release. It's not a report. It's not a press report. It's a press release. The press release is given by company itself. The press report could have a management, could have a bias, but the press release cannot have it, right? The press release would have a management bias, John. Okay. Yes. I mean, again, the point is that we are not evaluating. We are just justifying the criticism of the customers. I repeat, we are just justifying the criticism of the customers. You see, think about it, a company that you love, think about a company that you like, and if a report is being published by their competitor saying that, oh, we are the best, we are the best, and they are not the best, so how would you feel? Just think about it. How would you react? That's what you have to comment upon. I bet that's how you have to comment on it. Yeah, there could be manipulation. Okay, is everyone okay now? Everyone okay now? Okay, good enough. Now let's move. So now what we need to do is that we need to move on to the next requirement of the question. And what is the next requirement? It says the method of divisional benchmarking proposed. That's one thing. And the second thing is that it says the method of divisional benchmarking proposed. And the second one of them is benchmarking exercise for the three divisions. So we have got a 15 plus 9. It's a 24 mark requirement. It's a 24 mark requirement. Now, um, what we are going to do now is that we are going to be talking about some of the things pertaining to benchmarking, and then I'm going to move a bit forward and I'll discuss further. So let's talk about the concept of benchmarking. I repeat, let's talk about the concept of benchmarking. So when we talk about the concept of benchmarking, what is benchmarking? The benchmarking is simply performance comparison. It's actually comparing performance with best in the class to reach their performance level. So what is it? When you do benchmarking, benchmarking is performance comparison with an objective of what? We are going to compare ourselves with the best, and we would try to reach the best performing organization's level. The different types of benchmarking that exist include what? I repeat, the different types of benchmarking include what? Number one is the external benchmarking, which is also termed as competitor benchmarking. The second one of them is termed as internal benchmarking. The third one of them is functional. The fourth one of them is process. Fifth one of them is customer. The sixth one of them is I repeat, you've got external benchmarking, you've got internal benchmarking, functional benchmarking, customer benchmarking, process benchmarking. Okay, Rebecca, I have not explained the requirement yet. I'm just explaining benchmarking. I will explain the requirement, don't worry. There's this strategic benchmarking. And lastly, you've got a product benchmarking. Now, if I could just tell you what are these different types of benchmarking all about. I repeat, if I could tell you what are these different types of benchmarking all about. So when we talk about the concept of external benchmarking, the external benchmarking is that you compare your organization's performance with that of the competitor. You compare your performance with that of a competitor or the industry leaders. When it comes to the external benchmarking, so you compare your organization's performance with the competitor or with the industry leader. Now, what next is there? The next one of them is internal benchmarking. What you do is that you compare the performance within the organization. I repeat, you compare the performance within the organization. You compare the performance within the organization. So you compare between divisions, you compare between departments, that's what you do. Now, the functional benchmarking is like maybe you want to compare the admin department, you want to compare the finance department, you want to compare the HR department, etc., etc., etc. So if you want to compare any of the functions of your organization, that is termed as functional benchmarking. Then you've got a process benchmarking. What is that process benchmarking? Maybe an organization could have different type of process. Like delivery is a process. Like quality control could be considered as a process. Like there could be different types of process. What is this customer benchmarking? You identify the customer needs and you compare with your delivery to identify the gap. When it comes to the customer benchmarking, what you do is that you identify the customer needs. You compare it with what you deliver. The strategic benchmarking is whatever strategy that you adopt as an organization. Maybe you could adopt the cost leadership strategy. Maybe you could adopt a niche player strategy. Maybe you could adopt a product differentiation strategy. So if I've adopted a product differentiation strategy, I need to compare myself with another company which is actually implementing the product differentiation in the bestest of the manner. I repeat, if I've adopted the product differentiation strategy, that means I got to compare myself with a company that has actually implemented the product differentiation in the best possible manner. What is that going to be considered as? That is going to be considered as strategic. Now, lastly, there is this product benchmarking. And when we talk about the product benchmarking, what exactly do we mean by this? When we talk about the product benchmarking is also termed as reverse engineering. The product benchmarking is also termed as reverse engineering. Now, what exactly do you mean by reverse engineering? You identify a product, let's say XYZ product. You compare your product with the features. You compare your product with the features. And what you actually try to do is that you identify the gap between the benchmark product and between your own product. I repeat, what you do is that you actually try to compare the offerings in your product with the offerings in the benchmark product to get an idea where exactly is the difference. Is that okay now? Now, yeah, internal is within the organization. Okay, the strategic benchmarking is you have a strategy as an organization. Some of the organizations would want to be cost leader. Some of the organizations would want to be a niche player. Some of the organizations would want to go for a differentiation strategy. So as an organization, whatever strategy that you have adopted, I repeat, as an organization, whatever the strategy that you have adopted, what you actually need to do is that you need to compare that. I repeat, what you need to do is that you need to compare that strategy with your own. I repeat, what you need to do is that you need to compare the strategy with your own organization's strategy, and you need to say that okay, it's reverse engineering. Okay, what you need to do is that you need to say that okay, how is this organization which is adopting the differentiation strategy, what is he doing? Now try to understand. So that's what you have to do. So this is the basic concept of benchmarking. Now let's try to understand the various steps for benchmarking. Let's try to understand the various steps for benchmarking. So if I talk about the various steps for benchmarking, let me guide you. I'm just writing down, you may type. So these are some steps of benchmarking. Kindly just copy them. I'm gonna continue in 2 minutes time. Okay, so I hope that you people have copied it now. Let's start discussing about it. Now see, um, Claudia, just wait a bit. Let me get over with this question, then we can have a break. Okay, so now, what exactly are the steps that you have to follow when it comes to implementation of benchmarking? The first step is to identify a benchmark organization. That is, whom are you going to compare? Whom are you going to compare with? The second thing is that you have to identify performance indicators and you have to identify the performance drivers so that you can measure the performance. Now, let me tell you what is going to be an indicator, what is going to be the driver. Let me give you an idea. I repeat, let me give you an idea. What exactly is it? Try to understand. Basically, what happens is that, for example, sales is a performance indicator. What is driving sales? It may be capital. Okay, profit is a performance indicator. What is driving the profit? It may be sales. It may be the profit is being driven by, let's say, sales. It may be the capital. So you might actually calculate the measure which is profit upon sales, which is called the profit margin. Or you might calculate the measure as profit upon capital, which is termed as return on capital employed. So what you got to do is that the first thing is you got to identify that what is going to be the organization with whom. I repeat, you're going to identify what is going to be the organization with whom we will be comparing. That's the one thing. Second is that what are going to be the performance indicators and the performance drivers that we will be using for comparison. What will be the performance indicators? What will be the performance drivers that we will be using? The third thing is that you'd have to calculate performance of benchmark organization. Using what? Using these all measures. And once you would be measuring the performance of these, then what next is going to be there? You'll compare the performance of own organization with benchmark organization to identify the gap. To identify the gap. Now, once you have actually identified the gap, then what you need to do is that you need to implement the strategies to reduce that gap. What you need to do is that you need to implement the strategies to reduce that gap, and the last one of them is to monitor, to continuously monitor, that whether the actions that we have undertaken are those actions actually doing something good. The actions that we have undertaken, are those actions doing something good? Is that okay now? Now what next is there? Let's move. So basically, what you actually need to do is that you need to implement this specific benchmarking with respect to the next question. Okay, is everyone able to hear? Am I audible? Okay, just wait a bit, let me answer him. Okay, because there was a student who was complaining that I'm not audible. Now, anyways, let's just see this. So, is everyone okay with benchmarking? Shall I move on to the benchmarking? Okay, I think the difference between performance measure and performance driver is that what drives, I mean, like what you could do is that you could say this is gonna come in the numerator, this is gonna come in the denominator. One of them is gonna come in numerator, the other one of them is gonna come in denominator. Okay, now um no, we're not on a break. Himanshu, are you people tired or what? Yeah, are you people tired or what? Because everybody is asking for break. Okay, now let's just see. So let's come on to this question. First do this question, then we can have a break. Short break. Now see, benchmarking proposal. What is this benchmarking proposal? Let's try to understand. It says Rezelos has three. Rezelos has three divisions based in its three countries of operation. The B land, the T land, and the V land. So these are the three countries in which this business is operating. Now, it says in order to drive forward the integration of the divisions, CEO has decided that they should be benchmarked against each other. Okay, so what type of benchmarking is he trying to go for? Yeah, can anyone please confirm what type of benchmarking is he trying to go for? This is internal benchmarking. Yes, good. So now he's aware that this is not the only method of benchmarking, and so initially wants you to provide an understanding of the different types of benchmarking and an evaluation of the usefulness of the proposed type of benchmarking for the divisions. So that means basically what is he asking us to do? He is actually asking us to do what I have just explained to you people. I repeat, he is asking us to do what I have just explained to you people, that what are the different types of benchmarking. And then you got to comment that is it a correct benchmarking for this organization? It says he would also like you to complete the benchmarking exercise and comment on the matrix used and the results. What does he want? He wants us to complete the benchmarking exercise and comment on the matrix used and the results. He supplied the data in Appendix 3 to allow you to do this. Now see, I told you people that usually the examiner explains his requirement in the question actually. I repeat, usually the examiner explains his requirement in the question actually. And that is what he has done. He has actually mentioned to you that, look, boy, this is what my requirement is. These are my requirements. I want you to tell me that what are. Now let's just see. What are the requirements or what is there in the appendix? In fact, the requirements also need to be seen, which is the benchmarking method of divisional benchmarking proposed and benchmarking exercise for the three divisions. So I'm just copying down the questions requirement. I'm just copying down the questions requirement. Okay, now let's just see. So what is actually gonna be the answer to this part one? I'm just giving you an answer structure. The answer structure for this part is going to be mention methods of benchmarking. What do you need to do? You need to mention the methods of benchmarking. You need to explain each of the methods. And then the third thing is that okay, so you would actually explain the methods of benchmarking and then you would actually comment on the internal benchmarking. You would comment on internal benchmarking. Now, so is it appropriate? Now, you see what happens is that it's a good tool to compare performance of the different divisions, but the divisions are in different countries, so their circumstances may differ. The divisions are in different countries, the circumstances might differ, but still the features and characteristics of the best performing divisions could be identified. Still the features and characteristics of the best performing division could be identified. So the problem with this approach is that you don't get an external focus. Further, non-financial aspects are ignored as such information is not collected by entity. Is there any other advantage, disadvantage that you can mention? Okay, there is a comment. What is the difference between okay, with respect to internal benchmarking, you're comparing the performance of different divisions within the organization. When it comes to, I repeat, but when it comes to this um, functional benchmarking, you're talking about a specific function, like only admin function is compared, marketing function is compared. So that's actually pertaining to one single function only. Okay, the size of each, I mean, they are different. Okay, thank you for this, Munib. Thank you. Now, the sizes are different. Good tool to compare divisions of different countries. Furthermore, the sizes of each division are also different. The sizes of each of these divisions are also different. Okay, so we are done with one of the part. The second is that the benchmarking exercise for the three divisions. And it says he would like you to complete the benchmarking exercise and comment on the matrix used. So what is there? They would want you to complete the benchmarking exercise and comment on the matrices used. Now, okay, based on available information, can you people calculate we need to calculate this inventory days, we need to calculate this order book growth, we need to calculate percentage of revenue from new products, we need to calculate reduction in incident rate, and we need to calculate utilization of learning and development program. That is all something that we have to do. Now, how exactly are you going to do it? The question's requirement was that the examiner has actually given you the financial statements. I'm using this spreadsheet. What I'll be doing is I've copied the data from there, and after copying the data from there, I've actually pasted it here. Okay, I copied it just to make sure that I'm able to do the calculations using the ratios. Okay, a lot of you people would be wondering that why do we need to do all this? Okay, not an issue. The reason being, the reason that I'm doing it is that I actually think that this is gonna make things easier for me. This is gonna make things easier for me. So what is it? I need to calculate the inventory days. How do we calculate the inventory days? Let's just try to see what is he saying in the appendix. The industry standard method of calculating incident rate is this. Employees work on an average of 40 hours, okay. Utilizations of this is this. Now, for the VLAN, we have been given the cost of sales, we have been given the inventory, we have been given the number of incidents, etc. etc. Were we being told that what are the number of days? I repeat, were we being told that what are the number of days for which the organization works? So I would say E equals to inventory divided by cost of sale multiplied by 365. So you would actually end up getting the answer. Now, a lot of you people would be saying that this answer is a difficult one. No, this is what I've calculated. I bet this is what I've calculated. So again, because the examiner has actually answered himself in terms of only the number, so I would also be doing the numbers only. I would not be using the decimal here. What have I done? I've calculated the inventory days by simply using the data available in the question only. Okay, now, because, so I could do is that I could just say that the inventory days was one of the calculations that we had to do, and it was 162 days. The second one of them is order book growth. How exactly are you going to do this order book growth? Try to understand this. Okay, now what is this order book growth? So are we being given any formula? We have been given revenue from new products introduced in this. We have been given order book in 2008. We have been given order book in 2007. So we need to use this. The order book growth is actually going to be done like this. Equals to, bracket open, this is 2008 minus 2007, bracket close, divided by 2007. So what you need to do is that you need to convert this into the percentage. So it's actually 5.31. 5.31%. The next one of them is the percentage of revenue from new products introduced in the last 3 years. The percentage of revenue introduced from the product in the last 3 years. Now see, it says revenue from new products introduced, it's 163. How would we do it? How would we do it? We would do it like this. You have got this appendix. Here you have got the total revenue of VLAN 923. VLAN revenue is 923. This is going to be equal to this amount divided by 923, the total revenue. So you end up getting this percentage, 17.66. Now, next is reduction in incident rate. We were being told how they calculate the reduction in incident rate. I repeat, we were being told that how do they calculate reduction in incident rate. Industry standard method of calculating industry rate, incident rate is this. Number of incidents per year multiply by 200,000 divided by number of labor hours paid. So we have been given number of incidents in the previous year. We have been given number of incidents in the current year. If I try to calculate the incident reduction rate, how much is it going to be? It's going to be the incidents in 2008 minus incidents in 2007 divided by incidents in 2007. So it's 8.11%. There's this final one, which is utilization of learning and development program. We got to see that how do they calculate it. Utilization of learning and development program is measured by number of training days per employee. So you've got the number of training days, you've got the number of employees. So this is going to be what? 0.98. Now 0.98. So what exactly was the requirement of the question? One of the aspect of it was he would like you to complete the benchmarking exercise. We have done that now. And comment on the matrix used and the results. Now, that is the next thing that needs to be done. But for the time being, I want you people to let me know that if you people are okay with these calculation. Uh, 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 uh. Okay, you want me to repeat 17.66% in my calculation? Okay, just wait. Yeah, it's D36. What is D36? This revenue from the products introduced in the last 3 years divided by the 923, which is the total revenue of the entity. divided by 923, which is the total revenue of the entity. Okay, let me see if there are any other questions also. You want to know inventory days? Okay, the inventory days formula is inventory divided by cost of sale into 365. It's inventory divided by cost of sale into 365. Okay, John, you are saying that order increase you express as percentage of prior year, so it's 97 divided by 8885. Which you are saying this 5.31 order book growth is incorrect? Which of the measure is incorrect? How did I calculate the order book? Okay, he wanted me to calculate order book growth. So for me to calculate the order book growth, all that I did was I said the order book right now minus the order book previously gives you the difference, divide by this 885, because the growth is always calculated from the previous year. Okay, ignore note number 1 that's there to confuse you, Upasana Singh. Note number 1 is there to confuse you only, it's of no use. Okay, anyways, even if there is any calculation which is incorrect, that doesn't actually matter now. The reason being that what are we gonna lose? A mark, that's it. Okay, now let's just see. Basically, what is the requirement now? Let's try to understand. The requirement is comment on the matrix used and the results. Now, if I comment on the matrix actually means measures. The matrix actually means the measures. So let's talk about these matrices which have been used for the benchmarking. The matrices which have been used for the benchmarking are what? These are the matrices that have been used. It's a growth of market, the revenue growth, the operating margin, inventory days, order book growth, number of face-to-face interactions with division's top 10% customers, percentage of reduction revenue from new products introduced in the last 3 years, reduction in the incident rate, utilization of learning and development. Now you see, what happens is that growth of market and the revenue growth. The above will reflect how well our division has grown as compared to their market. The above will reflect how well our division has grown as compared to the market. The operating profit margin would talk about the profitability of the business, which would in turn, because you see, they want to see that you need to comment on these metrics, that are they of any benefit for the business or not. I repeat, what do they want? They want you to tell them that are these metrics, are these measures of any benefit to the business or not. So the profitability of the business and hence a reflection of value for shareholders. Then the inventory days could actually tell you about the inventory management by the business. The order book growth is a reflection of sustainability of the future revenues. The order book growth is going to be the sustainability of the future revenues. Now, what next is there? Number of face-to-face interaction. It actually captures the objective of partnering with customers. Then it says percentage of revenue from new products introduced in the last 3 years. Focuses upon innovation. Both of the above reflect upon. Both of the above actually reflect upon what? Let's just try to understand. Okay, so both of the above reflect, I repeat, both of the above reflect the care that you do for the employee. The both of the above reflect the care that you do for the employee. Is that okay now? Okay now. See, try to understand this. Okay, now, so one of them is they wanted us to comment on the matrices used. They wanted us to comment on the matrices used. Let me go back again. He want to comment on the matrix use and the results. So he wants us to comment on the results also. Now, you can also talk about any further improvements to the matrices also. I repeat, you could also talk about the further improvements to matrices also. Thank you, Dixon. We have time to type such a points within the allocated time. Okay, Manaka Silva, it's actually about the practice that you could do it, because it's just that you get an idea that how to do, what to do, and then you can do it easily. Okay, you could talk about the improvement to matrix in case if you wish to suggest any. Now what next is there? Let's try to understand. The next aspect of this is that you need to comment on results. So when you are gonna be commenting on results, so you would realize that they are operating in different markets. Beeland's growth rate is greater than the market growth rate. Okay, it has to be the short paragraphs. In terms of growth, Beeland has the highest growth rate as compared to other divisions, and basically it has got the highest growth rate as compared to other divisions and is operating in a growing market. Now, so that's one thing that's reflected here. The second thing is that you've got the operating margin, which you could see that VLAN has the best operating margin. VLAN has the best operating margin, reflecting that it is better at controlling costs as compared to other divisions. Then you have got what? The inventory days, we figured out it's the same for everyone, right? We figured out that the inventory days are the same for everyone, right? So what you could do is that you could comment on it that the inventory days are same for all divisions, indicating that there is some integration that is working out, indicating that there is some integration that is working out. Yeah, that means the integration is working fine. Then you have got order book growth. So all the divisions have a similar order book growth, but B lands should have got a higher growth. B land should have got a higher growth because it is operating in it is operating in a high growth market. It is operating in a high growth market. Now what next is there? The number of face-to-face interactions are increasing. So Beeland is doing the best at the face-to-face interaction as it had the highest interaction rate. Okay, now what next is there? Then there is this next aspect, which is basically the percentage of revenue from new products. Okay, so T-Land is best at innovation as it has got highest proportion of revenue from new products launched. Now what next is there? The next is basically reduction in incident rate. Okay, this is also negative, right? This is utilization of learning and development. Okay, now what next is there? The next situation is utilization of learning and development. Utilization of learning and development. So okay, the best performing division with respect to employee care and skill enhancement is the VLAN. Although the skill enhancement is a bit lower, but still the incident rates have reduced the highest. Okay, so is that okay now? Is that okay now? Thank you, John Mopa, for this excellent analysis and for excellent suggestions to that. Now, so we are actually done with, I repeat, we are actually done with this specific question. And I hope that you people would have now gotten an understanding that how exactly should this question be done. And you would have now gotten an understanding that how exactly should this question be done. Yeah, when you comment, you always explain why is it happening. Because the commenting is just like, I mean, like if you're already reading the data, which is already given, and if you're just saying this increase, this decrease, so what good have you done? You've done nothing. Rebecca, don't worry, just wait for it. EVA is coming up in the next class. Okay, so we have got 20 minutes left, and I think that we have had enough of it for today's session, because I think we had at length discussion, and we have covered up a complete 50-mark question, which covered up multiple area: performance reporting, customer survey, which talked about an unusual area of probability sampling, etc. And then we have gone through the benchmarking, which we have discussed the types of benchmarking, the calculation of the different matrices, and then commenting on the different performances. So we have actually gone through a lot of areas today. If you could just see that we have gone through 3 of the areas today, and we have done one of a 50-mark question. No, that note 1 is irrelevant. Christine, note 1 is irrelevant. The concept of order book growth. The concept of order book growth is that if the order book grows, this means that the future orders are there. That means the future orders are there. Okay, so we are done with it. And now if anyone has got any questions, please you may ask. Yeah, please you may ask any questions that you have. Yeah, anyone having any questions, please you may ask. Okay, you want to see 12.7 working. I just need to see which working you are talking about. Which is 12.7? I don't get it. Where's 12.7? Yeah, Himanshu, I've shared it in the WhatsApp group. Christine, yes, I will send them. Rebecca, okay, you want to see that? Just wait a bit. This is how you do it. What is D39? This is the number of incidents. This is number of incidents now. This is number of incidents last year divided by number of incidents last year. Okay. Usually it's 1 mark, 1 point. Adaze, I've shared it. Why you should not use the bullet points is that because that's not professional. Munib, that's not professional. Using the bullet points is not professional. You are a consultant. When you are talking about APM, you are a consultant. A consultant does not talk in bullet points. He talks in proper reports. Okay. So can a bold be used? How you differentiate it? Yes, 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 you can. You can. The examiner has given you the feature. So that means he is allowing you to use. You should use. Yeah, basically that's why I write down Maneka in terms of bullet pointers. So you understand that what exactly are the points that I'm actually telling you. Because if I write down in short paragraphs, you will never understand. Okay. There is a link of the WhatsApp group. You may join using that. Maneka is doing Olu. Please clarify between evaluation of report and evaluation. Okay, they're the same thing. Performance management system is different. If you can copy the content into the spreadsheet, it is going to be okay. I just did a separate presentation. Okay. So what actually happens is that that's it for today. I would appreciate your feedbacks for the sessions of today. Yeah, Dixon, message me. I'll connect you to the relevant person. Yeah, I would appreciate your feedbacks for today. I hope that it's actually helping you gain confidence these sessions. This is really good to see, good to hear, Irene, Upasna, Kushedo, Olimoid. Thank you very much, all of you. the percentage of revenue from new products, any fovosoe, this is basically, this actually means that how much revenue is being generated from new products. That's what you have to do. Thank you, John. Thank you, everyone. Irina, Muhammad Qayyum. Yeah, I can understand hectic, but the point is that if I don't maintain energy, your energies will go down. So your energy is my driving force. Thank you, Olu Cooker. Thank you very much, all of you. Yes, you can. Dixon, just message me. So I think it's all over for today. We're just gonna conclude here. Okay, so thank you very much, all of you. See you tomorrow, and wish you all the best for the coming sessions also, and for the exam preparation. Thank you very much.